thing.
Yeah. Did you see they released that first image of a black hole this week?
Yeah.
Which is really cool, I guess. But then like suddenly everybody was like, oh, a woman did this. It was a woman who wrote all the code for the first image of a black hole, and like it blew up on Reddit. Just stick with me here. It blew up on Reddit that this woman had solely done this thing. It was her picture all over there. They made a like how to get karma fast starter pack, and it's her picture and the black hole. And then it comes out, a man did so much more of it that it's not even funny. He did 340 times more lines of code. She did like 2,400 lines of code, and he did like 800,000 lines of code.
850,000. I saw like a little blurb about it, and there's no reason to get frustrated with this woman. She didn't pick to be foisted by the media. Like that, she didn't pick that. So people bullying her isn't fair.
I'm very skeptical that he wrote 850,000 lines of code. I think that that's a tremendous amount, a lifetime of code.
It's been going for like 4 years, and then they showed their GitHub.
Right. So what's happened is he's checked in that code, but he could be the code reviewer. Like I'm just skeptical that he's literally the guy that typed all that code. That's an outrageous amount of code.
It sounds outrageous to me. Like,
he might be the guy that does the code management.
There were like 30. There was like the real leaders, and then some team leaders, some like, I don't know, I guess the necessity team leaders, where it's like, if these things don't line up, nothing works. And then there were like 30 like small team leaders, and she was in one of the unessential ones. The whole point was that like they really kind of ignored everybody else who worked on it.
They picked the pretty one to give the credit to.
They picked the female one. She could have been fat and ugly. They just still picked her.
Of course, yeah. They were obviously pushing the female thing. But
I think it helps that she's pretty.
Well, it might help her karma, right. but it's definitely the reason that she's being posted. And then they post.
She also did the TEDx talk on it. Did you watch the TEDx talk where she talked about it?
I did watch that. Yeah.
So she was kind of a front man. I don't know. Yeah, this thing has been going on so long that she was like 9, while they started it. So she couldn't have led. Yeah, 2004. Does that sound right? And no, she's 28. Am I? 2001.
Oh, I thought it was like this current project was like 2016 to 2019, and I think she joined in like the end of 2017 or the beginning of 2018 or something.
Yeah, I'm not making it up. Right. Yeah, I could be right or wrong. Maybe what I read was wrong. But what I saw is that they started in the early 2000s. Maybe the project's been redefined with different starts. But
you're right. I have no fucking idea.
But yeah, and anyway, look, she's brilliant. She's a doctor of mathy stuff. I think that's what it is. And
mathiest stuff.
Yeah, and I think at MIT too. And now she's working for NASA.
Wonder how much her parents paid.
That'd be so funny. She got it easy. They start buying their way into MIT. I feel like you can't buy your way into MIT the way you could at like Harvard or Yale, because like that's a real thing. Like if you look at nepotistic rates of admittance into schools,
I saw the
schools
picture
like Harvard and Yale way higher than MIT, because a place like MIT, you show up and you're not smart enough to be an engineer, you get weeded out pretty fucking quick, because like your dad can't pay enough for your project.
I guarantee.
To look okay.
I saw the picture of the guy who did the supposed 800,000 lines, 850,000 lines of code. If that lady had given him a handy, he'd have slipped her 2,400 lines of code, no problem, no questions asked. That's my stance. That's what's occurred here.
My stance is that I really don't care.
I don't really care either. I thought it was fascinating that they have an image of the thing.
Yeah, I just thought the black hole picture was cool, because I laughed really hard because they had a couple photoshops of it where one of them was the look at my dick and you get punched picture, and it was the black hole, and the other one was the goatsy, where it's the guy's hands pulling his asshole apart, and it was on there. So I won the day. I don't care who gets the credit.
So I doubted the picture for a while, right? This is the picture that can't be captured and stuff like that. And then I listened to the TED Talk, and I listened to how they got the picture, and they said, this is what we expected the black hole to be like. We took tons and tons of pictures, discarded all the elements that didn't meet what we expected it to look like, until, lo and behold, it looked like we expected it to. And they have
really?
Now, so you heard this, and like me, you're like, the freak? Like,
seems backwards engineered.
Yeah, like you just discarded all this stuff that didn't look like you wanted it to, and then sure enough, what was left was what you wanted. But it turns out they had like 4 teams doing this, and they all came up with the same picture, which invalidates maybe what I just said. So I look forward to, like how this evolves. Maybe we do have a picture of the black hole. Maybe they're going to be like, you know what? That was largely horseshit. That wasn't a picture like you think it was.
It was like, do you remember the big story like 8 years ago, 9 years ago? And it's like, we found life on Mars. And we're like, oh my God. And then they're like, we found what might be a frozen bacteria in a lake somewhere. And that's life. And
that is
everyone
life.
immediately, no, I know it is, but everyone immediately lost their fervor for it because they're idiots like me and are like, you mean nobody's even walking around? Like, we didn't find a guy named Alan just hangs out on Mars?
I particularly
Bullshit.
like that his name is Alan.
Hello, friends. My name may seem foreign to you. It is Alan. It's like, Alan, really? Well, I just took out the I in Alien. And,
Yeah, that would do it for me. Like bacteria is all it takes. Because it's not about finding. Because that first step, the idea is like a lot of people don't believe that there is any life whatsoever outside of our planet. Now, there's some people who don't believe in evolution. There's some people who don't believe in evolution. So to them, maybe bacteria on another planet is completely meaningless. They're like, yeah, so there's bacteria. Who cares? But to me, that's proof that the starting point for what we are is present out there, and that means it's present out there everywhere.
The 3-body problem, that book tackles this. Like, it tackles religions, like acceptance and evolution to all these different worlds, and like the Bible doesn't mention all these other lives. And the globe is the center of the universe, and they're just like how they had to evolve to keep like reverse engineering. Like, no, it was right the whole time, but it also meant these other cultures existed in the Bible.
The whole
too.
6,000 years old thing is just ridiculous. Like, even most Christians I talk to and know are kind of on the boat of like, yeah, I believe God created everything, but those days are not strictly days. I mean, it does even say in the Bible to the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. His conception of time isn't the same as ours. And so obviously evolution could have been the Lord's mechanism to get us here. And it's like, okay, well, at least you're including science into your thing. It still seems kind of fucking hokey that you had to back up that much. But like the real deal, the Earth is 6,000 years old, people. Like, I don't know how they can cling to that anymore. Like, it's just... We know we have records of written language older than that in Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent. Like,
there's some reverse engineering going on. Like, my father told me that geology is not a real science. That's
true. It's like phrenology.
And I heard it, and I didn't have a counter for it. Like, I don't know. And by the way, he's really smart in a lot of ways. So if you go and try and be like, Dad, you don't understand. Carbon decays at a really steady rate. It's gone to this. And that's why we can look at these things and see how much carbon we expect versus how much carbon there is, and know exactly how long ago it took. And he would debunk that shit, and you'd never change his mind, and you'd run out of things to say. You'd lose. Even if you're...
Well, carbon is a government conspiracy. We're all made of helium at different densities. That's why... I purge the helium from my body. That's why my voice sounds like this. So,
oh.
I don't have anywhere else to go with this.
Why do you look so inflated?
Well, that's the neck thickening salve and the face reddening cream. Man, your throat hurts so quickly after pretending to be that maniac.
Yeah,
how does
can they let him back on Twitter so I can laugh at his tweets again? My God, please.
Dude, the biggest thing with him is he says things that are true. And that's my challenge. Like you'd be like, what? The water paper documents, and you Google it and you're like, oh fuck, that was a real one. Now we're on to, what does he say the condensation trails are?
The contrails.
The chemtrails.
The chemtrails.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, I'm having a hard time. I have to research every one of these things because if 1 in 3 is true.
He just gish gallops and says so many things, and like that's what he does. Is he'll like mention 5 big events, and you'll look at like in a tirade, and
Mhm.
you'll look at if you look at it, you'll be like, oh fuck, all 5 of these big events he's talking about are true, and they happen the way he said. That's interesting. Huh, I guess the 50 claims he sprinkled in there must also be true. Like, that's how he gets people.
Lizard people, vampires, pedophilia, like, it's crazy.